The U.S. men's national team advances past El Salvador in the Gold Cup, albeit with several bite marks. Jozy Altidore's girlfriend is not pleased. Chelsea eventually get their second-choice man. That Neymar-to-PSG rumor is somehow gaining momentum, and history is made in Major League Soccer. I'm Taylor Rockwell, here to tell you that it's Thursday, July 20th, which means happy 44th birthday to former U.S. national team captain Claudio Reyna. More on that national team he played for in just a second. But first, from Dirty Tackle, Howler Magazine, and the Total Soccer Show, this is The Goalmouth, your daily serving of bite-sized soccer news. Up first, the U.S. men's national team had a pretty tough time in their quarterfinal victory over El Salvador, and I don't really mean in regards to their actual on-field performance. To be fair, the U.S. still looked periodically disjointed during their eventual 2-0 win over El Salvador. That's kind of been a hallmark of this Gold Cup team. But I'm more so referring to the overly physical play from the Americans' opponents. There was a nipple twist for Jozy Altidore, courtesy of Henry Romero, who was also kind enough to bite Altidore as well. Not to be outdone, El Salvador midfielder Darwin Sarin got in a bite of his own, this time on Omar Gonzalez. Jordan Morris was also on the receiving end of a gut punch/slap, depending on your perspective, which came courtesy of El Salvador's Alexander Larin. It's tough to believe that this disciplined, rule-abiding El Salvador national team is the same one that had 14 players banned for match fixing, right? The U.S., specifically Giassi Zardes in this case, also had a legitimate goal disallowed for offside inside the first 20 minutes, with replays showing that the American attacker was pretty clearly onside. Regardless, in more positive news for U.S. fans, late first-half goals from Omar Gonzalez and Eric Lehigh prove the difference, and the U.S. will now advance to play Costa Rica in the Gold Cup semifinals. Los Ticos also advanced on Wednesday, this time over Panama, courtesy of an Anibal Godoy own goal. So commiserations to Panama, Costa Rica, we'll see you in the next round. Quick update, I wrote all that and then checked Twitter only to be reminded that Jozy Altidore is the absolute greatest. When asked about the incident I mentioned above, he responded, quote, "My girl is mad at me. She's mad at me and she's mad at Romero. She's like, only I can bite you, only I can grab your nipples," end quote. I haven't checked official U.S. soccer records, but I'm going to go ahead and say that is a first for a post-match interview. This is the same Jozy Altidore who, while playing abroad in Turkey a few years back, tweeted that he couldn't figure out where to watch the Champions League. I guess he couldn't figure out the TV schedule, he couldn't figure out a good place to watch it, so he ended up doing so in a local supermarket. I asked him about that tweet a few years ago, and he responded that the shop owner didn't really mind that he insisted on watching the game there, but did get frustrated that Jozy Altidore kept buying potato chips and then eating them while watching the game. So with all that said, let's just take a moment to appreciate the national treasure that is Jozy Altidore. In the transfer no longer rumor department, Alvaro Morata is officially a Chelsea player. I made myself laugh there. The 24-year-old Spaniard was long linked with a move to Manchester United, but when the Red Devils opted instead for Romelu Lukaku, the Blues came calling. Matt Law of the Daily Telegraph reports that, quote, "The initial fee Chelsea will pay for Morata is just £58 million. Quite a coup, I'd suggest, in this market," end quote. To clarify, Law put quotation marks around the word just in that tweet, so there was definitely some sarcasm involved. That said, with the way transfers seem to be going in this window, there's a decent chance we look back and think, remember that time Chelsea pulled off that steal of Alvaro Morata for £58 million? That was impressive. It's a strange world we live in, especially when it comes to the transfer rumor market, which is my way of segueing into the fact that on Tuesday I filled in for Daryl and told you that the worst sort of tabloids were reporting that PSG were prepared to trigger Neymar's €222 million release clause. Today, they're still reporting that story, but now it seems like maybe there's some truth here. O Globo, the biggest source for soccer news in Brazil, has revealed that Neymar has informed his close friends that he will be joining PSG. Grain of salt there. Meanwhile, sources in Paris say that Neymar, 1, wants to leave Barcelona, 2, was the one who first made contact with PSG, 3, has asked that he own 100% of his merchandising rights, and 4, has a verbal agreement in place, but nothing concrete as yet. For their part, The Guardian are taking the most logical approach. They're reporting the news, quote, Paris Saint-Germain are preparing to hold talks over a world record €220 million deal to buy Neymar from Barcelona. Although Barcelona are insisting the forward will stay, PSG are getting more optimistic they may be able to sign him, end quote. But The Guardian is also keeping things in perspective. Quote, PSG are not getting carried away, having thought they secured a deal for Neymar last summer, only for the Brazil striker to sign an improved contract to remain at the Camp Nou, end quote. Regardless of what actually ends up happening here, Neymar gets another deal, I think we found our prolonged transfer saga of the summer, so buckle up, folks. We've got a long time until the transfer window closes. MLS news now, and I'm realizing that last story is a good segue into this current story. Not that Major League Soccer teams are about to spend an insane amount of money on a player, but more so about kind of dealing with prolonged tragedy, because that's what DC United fans are handling this season. In fact, if you are a DC fan, you might just want to fast forward through this part, because the Seattle Sounders defeated DC United 4-3 on Wednesday night, becoming the first team in league history to overcome a 3-goal deficit to win a game in regulation time. That's right, DC jumped out to a 3-0 lead and then conceded 4 straight goals. So for you Sounders fans out there who think your club is 1 in a million, the joke's on you. You're actually 1 in 4,916, which I've come to find is the total number of regulation time league games played in Major League Soccer history. Who knew? For you DC fans, probably DC fans knew that, there's always next year and a new stadium and the promise of the front office buying another team's 3rd or 4th choice striker and then being surprised when that player somehow doesn't score 25 goals. Always reasons to be optimistic in the nation's capital. And with that, we've come to the end of yet another Goalmouth episode. You can explore all these stories in more depth by subscribing to our newsletter. The link is in the show notes. I've included all the different clips of all the different bites and nipple twists and gut punches and goals, so it's worth checking out. I've been Taylor Rockwell. Ryan Bailey will be with you tomorrow, but until then, I'll leave you with today's Goalmouth top tip. El Salvador bites, or at least 2 of their players do.